All right, so welcome. I got Jordan Ostroff with Jordan Law Firm that's joining us today. And I know you're already sitting there going, man, a lawyer? Really? But I wanted to feature Jordan specifically because of everything that he's doing in our community to make a difference, not just for you and your family, but also other business owners. So with that, Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. So, Jordan, for those of you that maybe aren't as familiar, can you just introduce yourself briefly?
Sure. So my name is Jordan Ostroff. I'm the managing partner of Jordan Law here in Orlando, Central Florida. But for those of you that groan when you heard lawyer, I am right there with you. So at this point, I don't even tell people I'm a lawyer anymore. I'm a small business owner who runs a law firm. And that's also true. Like I don't really practice law as much anymore. I just manage the firm. So, but that seems to make for better conversation. And then I always dress like this, regardless of coronavirus or not. And if I stood up, you'd see I'm in shorts and sandals also. But I'll hold that back for right now.
Yeah, it's funny that when we see that and kind of the preconceived notions that a lot of people have as far as somebody that's stuffy, they're in the office with a bunch of books surrounding them. You kind of you broke the norm with that. So, how did you originally get started with your firm?
So when I graduated law school, I knew I wanted to be so let me backtrack. As far as I remember, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And I had absolutely no idea what that meant. And some days I still don't know what that really means. And then at some point I decided I wanted to be a prosecutor, still having no idea what that means. And then I realized that basically you were just arguing with people and telling them why you were right, which is what I did my entire childhood. And so when I went to Barry, so I went to UCF here in Orlando. That's what got me up to this area. Stayed here for Barry's Law School, which is on Summerlin Colonial, and then was a prosecutor here in Orange County. I was lucky enough to actually never have to move between, well, I guess I moved from UCF to this side of town, but I didn't have to move from law school to being a lawyer until I moved in with my now wife. So that's what got me started. And then after about 3 years there, I realized, so I thought, oh my God, I'm going to keep the streets safe from all these terrible, evil people. I'll be like, lawyer Batman. And then they hand you all these files and it's like, oh, this person's only here because they're poor and they couldn't afford to stay in the same apartment and they missed this mailing from the DMV and their license got suspended. And this person's here because they were born a crack baby and they got addicted to drugs and they never got off drugs and so they got arrested for drugs. And this person's here for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so, I prosecuted a couple people that were like genuinely bad. But having had 10,000 cases, most of the time they were poor, they made a bad decision, or they were lazy and didn't, update an address or whatnot. And so that kind of got me in the realm of, I want to see what it's like representing those people. And then, so I switched over doing defense work for a little bit. And then we became more of a business and personal injury practice.
So, you've been now practicing out on your own for how long, Jordan?
So Jordan Law will be 5 years in October of this year.
Wow. So go back to those original days when you were first kind of starting to do the groundwork and get the business up and running. Tell us, what were some of those original struggles that you had as you were first getting open?
The biggest struggle was I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I thought I had somewhat of an idea, but I did not realize how little of an idea I had knowing what I was doing. And so in twofold, like you go to law school, they don't actually teach you to be a lawyer. They teach you how to think like a lawyer. And so being a prosecutor, you didn't have to do certain filings. And so from the lawyer side, thankfully, my wife was a former public defender. So she helped me with all the defense attorney filings, like letting them know you represent this person and those things. But I had no business background whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. And so I asked backward myself into quite a bit of success and quite a bit of failure from not having any clue along those lines. And so that was what I kind of had to add to my repertoire.
So what did you do to go out and kind of overcome that? I mean, did you just go out and consume every bit of content that you could to try to learn how to be a business owner, or what was that?
So the thing that I tell everybody, now that we do business law, I have a much better understanding of what a business needs. And so at its core, there is no problem that a business has that can't be solved with more money. Like that is every business's problem, because with more money, you can turn down cases, you can hire the right people, you can use that money to solve any problem. So thankfully, having been here at UCF, and I did the trial team at UCF with a bunch of, future now attorneys, And then I did a trial team at Barry and was here and got coached by local attorneys and local judges and other people that went on to be attorneys. So I had like a really good network, having no idea that I actually put that together. So thank God I had cases coming in, because that would have been a whole another problem. But at least that gave me the flexibility to turn some of those cases down or bring on, I brought on an intern from Barry to work for me like maybe 3 months out. And so they took over a lot of the menial stuff, which gave me more time to learn the business stuff. And then we were doing well enough. My wife quit her job. She took a sabbatical from law for a year to teach civics, which basically is teaching law. And so the school year, or a little bit before the school year ended, so she came on board full time, which took over some of the lawyer stuff so I could still focus on more of the business stuff, the planning, etc. But if I did not have those cases coming in from knowing people and hopefully being, nice, affable, and trustworthy, then I would have been screwed, 14 other ways.
So now you fast forward, the business is getting ready to turn 5. What are some of the present things that you're going through that you're just like, wow, this is a totally different dynamic that I'm trying to figure out how this works?
It's a really good question. And you sent me these questions before and I looked at them, and now like they're coming out differently. Or I'm not getting the same answers I had prepped. No, look, businesses have the same problems. They just show up in different ways. And so to grow a business, you can find new clients, you can charge more, you can offer new things, you can resell current existing clients. Like there's only 4 or 5 ways to grow a business, no matter what you sell, no matter what you offer. And so, I'm still always stuck in the, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, there's a million different business service providers out there because there's a billion different things that a business can do. And that can be, Outlook versus Google versus another email. That can be a different case management system. That could be an intake system. That could be a client portal. I mean, there's all these things out there. And so the struggle for me, I guess, is staying on top of those things and deciding when to make the chance to switch. It's easy to have shiny object syndrome and be like, oh, there's a new this, there's a new that, whatever. But then when you think about the time to implement it, the cost to implement it, the training of it, all those things, you really have to figure out what's worth adding and changing and subtracting. And so we've been lucky enough that now we've got a team of 9, hoping to hire 2 more people over the next couple of months to get us back over 10. You can segment a lot of that. So it's like, all right, you're in charge of our intake system. Here's the emails from them every month with the new features. When there's a new feature that makes sense to us, run it up the flagpole. Let's see. You're in charge of our case management system. Here's the emails that they send with updates. When there's something new, run up the flagpole. And just, being able to give everybody their own projects really helps the business as a whole work that much better, as opposed to me having to be the one to implement any, worthwhile changes.
That's beautiful. As far as when you're seeing that when you can segment out your business and have people that own different areas, just how that supercharges and helps move things forward. Now, from following you and seeing everything that you've done here in Orlando, what brought me in front of you is where you're giving back and helping out. You're kind of divvying out that secret sauce, right? How business owners can do something different, how they can do more to make themselves unique and grow. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with that, Jordan?
Yeah, so I also run a marketing company geared towards lawyers. So we did a presentation for the Orange County Bar on running a referral-based practice. I switched that to running a referral-based business, which is 95%, the same thing, and taught it to people. I mean, at its core, the better understanding you have of who your ideal client is, the better you're going to make every other decision, because you don't matter. What matters is finding the right clients who want to work with you. And so that goes back to, I dress like this, and I've had people say, I want my attorney to be professional. Great. I'm not the one for you. Like, I'll be professional in court and we write really good motions. We provide a really good product. But if you want your attorney to be that, stodgy, stuffy person, we're not the right firm. Like, there's a million of other of those firms. And I'm okay losing not my ideal client, because I know that I want to work with my ideal client who likes the interaction, who likes the long-term relationship, who likes the more laid-back atmosphere. And so the biggest thing that I'm helping people teach is finding your ideal client. And the more that you do that and the more time you put in that, the more understanding you have of that, every other decision becomes not easy, but easier. Because if your ideal client is, an 85-year-old person, you probably don't want to be marketing on Instagram. You know, they may know Facebook pretty well now. They may be FaceTiming on their phones with, you know, grandkids and whatnot. So those may be some different worthwhile routes to advertise to them, but Instagram may not be. If you're looking for brand new, you know, Silicon Valley startups, you may not care about LinkedIn because it's a couple guys in a, you know, or people in a basement working on a computer. You know, they may be more tech savvy. They may be more, you know, advertising on Waze or Instagram or, you know, something like that. And every other business decision comes after that. You know, if you're looking for that really high touch, high net worth client, then you need to make your business provide that extra value, charge more to take fewer clients, to provide that touch, to provide that service. Whereas, you know, if you want to be more of a volume business, then there's no reason to spend money on those extra points of contact because you're trying to keep the price down as much as possible.
Yeah, we've seen that ourselves in our own business, as far as when you clearly identify who is it that you want to work with, and then you see what value you can provide to them above and beyond what they're used to, right? Like, you can be the low cost leader and be the Walmarts of the world that you just say, let me do volume. But it's a very unique experience when you can go through and say, no, I'm going to go through, and it's going to be like in Pretty Woman when you walk into the store and everybody's running to you and trying to make sure that you get the perfect dress and the perfect hat and everything, and they're giving you all the little extras. That's what we found, that our clients and the people come to us, the extras, those touches that are different, that's like they're running out into the streets to tell people. So I know that that's part of what I've been on calls with you where you're kind of sharing that and going through, Jordan. So that's a great tip with that. Now, you've been in a unique position as far as being, you know, part of the larger organization, going out and creating your own business and helping business owners here in the community. But if I'm looking right now and you're saying, what difference do you want to make as far as an impact for your community, for your family? What does that look like for you?
So this question is exactly what I love about Orlando. You know, if you don't live in Orlando, you're like, oh, you've got, you know, Disney, you've got Universal, you know, you've got theme parks. Meanwhile, like, you know, don't get me wrong, at UCF, we had Disney passes and we would go there for lunch and then go back to afternoon class and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, there's a huge part of Orlando that isn't that. And, you know, I think oh my God, the Florida Project, the movie that came out a couple years ago, did a really good job explaining the other side, you know, not the underbelly, because it's not a bad thing, but just the outcome of this, or the unintended consequence is you have a lot of really low cost jobs in Osceola and Orlando, you know, around all the tourism industry. So you've got, you know, the average family of four in Orlando making like just over $40,000, which is, you know, not a lot by any means. And those are people that for the most part are working at hotels and hospitality and restaurants and maybe have 2 or 3 jobs. So I wasn't cognizant of that going in. You know, being at UCF, you get a much different view until I got to the prosecutor's office, when you start seeing how that impacts itself when it comes to crime and poverty and, you know, the real Orlando. And so one of the things that we've always made sure that we do as a firm and as a person and as a family is make sure that we're trying to address that situation as much as we can. And so that shows up in, you know, we'll take pro bono cases, we'll do free speeches and different kind of things like that to do trainings on, you know, dealing with police officers, situations you're going to run into, how to handle those, giving you a little bit of behind the scenes of, as a former prosecutor, what went into charging decisions, what went into offers, what went into prosecuting cases, so people could figure out that, like, you know, if you're not rude to the police, you have a much better chance of them not arresting you. And I mean, stupid stuff like that, but it ends up making a huge difference for people. And so recently I've been on the board for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Florida. And so we've got about 200 matches across the Central Florida area. Wow. So that's a 1-to-1 match, a little brother or little sister with a big brother or big sister on that 1-to-1 mentorship. Because for a lot of those people, I mean, that's the only successful person or successful relationship that they're going to have. You know, we hear from a lot of parents where they're working 2 or 3 jobs. There's no other parent in the picture. And so, you know, they want their kid to see an accountant, to see a doctor, to see a financial advisor, to have somebody who's, you know, successful based upon whatever definition they put on that. And so it's been really awesome to see what we've been able to do. And then obviously now recently a big push of that is also to help build relationships between a lot of those kids and police officers. So the Melbourne Police Department just announced a partnership with us where they're going to get a lot more cops to become big brothers and big sisters with those, to help build those relationships in the community. because, from everything going on, there's plenty of amazing police officers out there. Unfortunately, there's also a number of the bad ones. And so a lot of that gets fixed or rooted out by that interaction between the actual community and the police officers who are involved in that community. So I really love that we've been able to, walk, I don't want to say a fine line, because obviously I don't think anybody is pro police brutality, but we've been able to really connect a lot of our little brothers and little sisters with, police officers as bigs or as agencies, to help show them that, there are good police out there, and to help show the police that there are good minorities, children, poor people. I mean, whatever you want to put on the other side. It's been really helpful and really cool to see those relationships grow and foster into positive things.
Yeah, so those relationships obviously are key from the beginning. So if you look at your business and you say, hey, what relationships have helped you get to where you're at today? What have been some of those that have made a difference for you, Jordan?
So you got to have mentors. Gary Vee, I think, is the only one I've ever seen say don't have mentors. And really, I think he wasn't even saying it that specifically. I think it was more, people are going to tell you what worked for them, but you want to find what works for you. But everybody else I've talked to, you have to have mentors. And mentors don't have to be somebody who's older than you, or somebody who's more experienced than you, or somebody who's in the same industry as you. Anybody who, for whatever reason, you can pick their brain and get some advice, or just talk out loud about the ideas. I mean, those people are essential to the help of any business. Sometimes it's somebody who's been in, for me, a couple of my mentors have been attorneys for, 20 years, 30 years. So a lot of it is, how have you seen the legal profession change? We want to do something like this. We're more tech forward. They're less tech savvy. If we take the same stuff that worked for them and apply the internet to it, what are some ideas that we can come up with? And sometimes it's asking them questions, you were at so-and-so's wedding 20 years ago, and now they're the judge on my case. What do you think between these things? All, not like they're going to like me more, but do you think they prefer pictures? Do you think they prefer audio? Do they want to see diagrams? Do they want to see, stuff like that? That becomes super helpful. And then at the same time, also, I think you need to find mentees, because a lot of times we know what we know, but being able to teach that to somebody else, or being able to help somebody else learn that, will help us learn why we're doing it that way, or if there's a better way. And so, like, I'll jump on, an hour call with other, newer attorneys to talk to them about marketing, and they're so appreciative of the time. But really, I think I'm learning more from them than they're learning from me, because I'm getting their perspective and why this won't work and why they're using this, or how their state does things differently, or, something along those lines. So, between mentors and mentees, you're always going to have that lifelong learning, which I think is key to success, because you can only coast downhill as a business.
Yeah, you look back at like tribes years ago, right? The Eskimos, everything, as far as passing down information, you didn't have a textbook you were picking up. It was stories. And it was being able to have somebody that you could learn from and then teach those stories to. And we've lost a lot of that in what we're doing right now. So the resurgence of people saying you need to go out and find somebody to sit under their learning tree, and then eventually you're going to bear fruit to somebody else, is definitely a different piece with that. So if you're saying, you've grown your business fairly uniquely, right? You said from the get-go, we're going to do cloud-based so that we can ease how much time people are spending filling out forms of repetitive information. But what's been unique as far as in your experience to help your business grow?
Well, so the thing that I really like, and obviously, every generation thinks that they're important. But for my generation, like, I remember what it was like not having a computer, but sort of just barely. And so I think people older than me will have gone farther without a computer, and people younger than me will have not known what life was like without a computer. And so that's what I love about, like, we've grown our business based upon one-on-one human contact and interrelationship. But then I've added the computer aspect to it, the automation aspect to it, the technology aspect to it, so that we can, one, spend more time on everything that you can't automate. If you don't have to fill out a form for 10 hours a week because a computer does it, you can spend those 10 hours actually doing the legal work, or staying in touch with the person, or proactively letting them know what's going on. And then also, like, I use that to not forget about people or forget about things. And so I've got, a bunch of people's birthdays saved in the phone. I've got anniversaries. I've got kids, names, date of births, all those things, just so when I'm having that genuine human connection with them, because I genuinely like them and care about them, I don't forget that, they only have daughters versus having sons, or that, one of their kids just started kindergarten. And so, the conversation that we'll have is, how are they liking school and going every day versus daycare beforehand versus whatever else. And all that, isn't fake. It's genuinely based upon me caring about them, but I can't remember things nearly as well as I used to or as I have to. So I have I let a computer cheat for me when it comes to the memory part of it, and I provide the emotion and the customization part of it.
Yeah, that human touch, right? We've had so much that's been automated and things that happen, that when you can use that to your benefit to have more of that interaction, that definitely makes a difference for people. So if we're sitting across the table from one another 5 years from now, what does Jordan Law Firm look like then?
So we have a really interesting business model also. And so we have all of our attorneys are paid on fee splits for what they're making, based upon what they bring in and what the firm brings in for them, et cetera. So what I love that from the standpoint of is basically like I'm building the backbone that runs the firm, that generates the business, et cetera. And then anything they generate is the cherry on top. So I'd like to see us right now. We've got, 3 attorneys. We'll be at 4 next month. So I'd like to see us get a little bit bigger than that, not too much bigger. And otherwise, I mean, everything else that we're doing, I don't know what new things will come down the pipe, but anything that we think is worth incorporating, we'll start adding. I think recently we've seen an uptick in people liking text messaging. So we'll send, text message reminders about court dates or hearings or deadlines or waiting on documents, more so than email, and even more so than phone calls for a lot of our clients. So I think that will continue to be something that's more and more prevalent. And just, it'll be small changes like that. It won't be anything drastic, because thankfully we've got a solid enough foundation.
Very cool. Well, that's obviously an impactful story of everything that you've done in a short 5 years, Jordan, to be able to make a difference here in Orlando. So I want to thank you for your time. Where can people get more information about you and your firm?
The easiest thing is our website. So it's jordanlawfl.com, FL like in Florida. If you want to email me, it's jordan@jordanlawfl.com. I'm pretty religious about this being on me and answering emails pretty quickly. And then if anybody has questions from a lawyer side, legal side, the easiest thing is to call the office at 407-906-5529. That's 906 J-Law 5529 for Jordan Law.
Fantastic. Well, Jordan, thanks for joining us. And until next time.
Thank you for watching the Life Wealth Group YouTube channel. We hope you found this video informative. If you have any specific questions as to what you heard today, don't hesitate to reach out to us for a complimentary phone call or meeting in person. Also, don't forget to subscribe.